in Los Angeles. And
how's he doing?
Johnny's trying to do all the right things. And anytime that you're involved in, especially any type of recovery, any type of 12-step program, which has been well chronicled as far as Johnny and his involvement in those programs, or lack of involvement in a consistent program. And then here recently, we've heard that he has struggled with being bipolar. So him being diagnosed as being bipolar. It's not an excuse for what Johnny's done, but it is an explanation for some of the behavior and definitely some of the inconsistency that we've seen in this young man. He's trying to do the right thing. I believe that right now he's in a better space than he was in last year or 2 years ago. I still believe that there's a lot of work to be done, not only off the field, but his daily life and trying to manage his daily life. I do believe that sport, a lot of time when you're going through issues like this, having a job or getting back to the thing you love, it really helps that person. It is therapeutic for them. I just believe that there are going to be some other great stories of guys recovering that we haven't seen. We haven't seen those types of stories in a long time in the NFL. It's one thing that I mentioned to Roger Goodell, because Johnny has a history, a lot like myself, but I was able to make that change in my life and have the tools that I could be successful. So I try to make myself available, and I'm involved with several players like Johnny on a regular basis. So I'm always cheering, but also I know that what it takes from a daily standpoint, Johnny playing football, is it good for him? I don't believe that this league right here gets him back into the NFL. I would have much preferred him go to the CFL with June Jones, who has worked with a number of NFL quarterbacks and has the experience. They have his rights, the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Well, what do I know about the CFL? Well, my son's played up there the last 4 years. He's an all-star up there. I know it's a league that cultivates talent. I know that they would put the type of structure around them, and I think that you would see the type of offenses and defenses that you would be able to project. Is Johnny ready? With his ability to run with the football, I believe it breeds to him having success up there. And that's the way that you're able to, beside your daily regimen, getting his life together, playing football and having success. I believe that the CFL is really a better option for him with their 18-game schedule, so that we can get a bigger sample size of him on the field than just playing 2 to 4 games in a 2 to 4 week window.
Okay, can he do it both, though? Can he do this so that he takes some snaps, he runs around, he throws football against live action, and then goes and plays in the CFL?
Yeah, I think there's a chance that he can do both, because the spring league will be over by the time, but he seems as if there's been some complications with him signing with the CFL team. The CFL team, Hamilton Tiger Cats, they want him. June Jones has mentioned they've won him. He's gotten clearance from the commissioner of the CFL that he would be allowed to accept a contract in the CFL, because there's some criminal things there when you go out of the country. And the CFL just does not let anyone come from the United States and just play in their league. So I just believe with the consistency, and I just believe he needs more than a month trying to play football. I believe he needs several months of going through ups and downs that he will face.
Plus, he probably needs a team, right? You need whether it's the pressure or the push of a team around you, the structure of it, the discipline of. It's one of the great things about football that I personally struggle with my own son, right? He's 8 years old. He wants to play tackle football. Everybody's saying, don't play tackle football till you're in high school, whatever. But, you know, some of the great moments in personal discipline I learned was as a kid growing up playing tackle football, you know, especially. I like, first of all, who doesn't cheer for a comeback? We've all screwed up.
This is America. We love to see our heroes rise again.
But what we love more, though, we love the truth. And I love to see that, not to hear the diagnosis, but I love to see that, man, there might be an answer to the behavior.
Well, that's the other part. This is a very 2018 story, because so oftentimes in the past, well, guy's a drug addict, we don't have time for him, and then it's a comeback from drugs. Now we're getting the true kind of picture of he was a volatile mix of ego, of entitlement, of drugs and alcohol,
depression,
and likely depression brought on by all these things combined with bipolar disorder, right?
Like then he's self-medicating with the alcohol per, you know, his explanation.
Right.
What
so you got all of this, and now you have a guy who he can't hide. Like, I was at Texas A&M this weekend, and he's still Johnny Football.
Yeah.
Right? He can't hide in his rehab. I'm intrigued by it. I'm fascinated by it. I like the fact that he is getting back on the football field, that he's attacking his problems head on. I'm intrigued by the idea of playing in the CFL. I just wonder if you can do them both, because the more snaps, the more action, the more throws, the more times he's behind center, the more reward there is for all the hard work that's done personally and fighting addiction and fighting bipolar disorder. If you give him that reward of playing football, I think you're more likely to see some success off the field.
And this is beyond a person getting a second or third chance. To me, it's about, I don't care how good he is as a football player, but I know that through being involved in the league and the type of programs that they have, it gives you the power that you're able to maintain enough until you're mature enough or strong enough that you have the right tools that you can be successful in life. So the things I learned in the NFL, some of them greater off the field than on the field. That's what I'm concerned about.
Sure.
Does he have the power to be able to say no to things that have control over his life when he becomes an elderly person? When he becomes in his mid-40s, in his 50s.
Heck, he hasn't even made his 30s yet, or late 20s yet.
So I just believe right now, these tools and this foundation becomes very, very important to him.
Let me say this about this story. What I love most about it, in addition to the comeback aspect, is to your point of the vulnerability. The fact that he didn't, everybody has so much to say about Johnny Manziel and his failings and how he blew it and all these things. And certainly he's made a slew of bad decisions. But the vulnerability to admit publicly that he has a mental illness challenge called bipolar, and that's what it is.
Yes.
And he's addressing it and taking steps around doing an about course is very, very important. And like you said, whether or not he makes it back to the NFL, I don't think that's the measure of success here. I think the measure of success is him taking ownership as a grown adult man and doing what he can to best position himself. And then my final point is to you, Chris Carter. I think your mentorship in the league and around it on this issue is outstanding. I think it's critical. I think it's one thing for clinicians and all these people to talk to you about what you need to do, but to see people who have experienced it firsthand does something different. And I think it's important.
Right. And I'm very fortunate that the National Football League, that they keep me within arm's reach of a lot of these players. So for me, being in the league, it was great, but afterwards, being able to go through my experiences and be able to reach out and be able to help players has been very, very rewarding.
What's amazing about it is I'm sure there's a bunch of them who have no idea about your past, right?
No.
They only know all Chris Carter does is catch touchdown passes, and they get into the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
They didn't know kind of the fork in the road and the decisions you made. Look, I still think there's the interesting football angle to it. I do. Like, I want him to get back in the NFL because I want to see if he can make it, because the NFL is kind of coming around to this style of quarterback. We saw Deshaun Watson, obviously bigger, better athlete, maybe better arm. But we've seen kind of the use of RPOs and some of the use of this college offenses with the Kansas City Chiefs, with the Philadelphia Eagles. And I'm still intrigued to see if he's able to put his life together. I mean, he's still in his early 20s.
He's very young.
It's crazy.
Plenty of time.
It's crazy if he can get back on a field, if he can actually make it as a diminutive quarterback from the type of systems that we're seeing spread throughout college.
Right, and we just need to become a little more comfortable as a society that this is what people look like who have mental illness. This is what people who look like have bipolar. They're extremely talented people, but they're like your son, they're like your daughter, they're like your friend, they're like one of your colleagues at work.
And you know what? Not everybody has bipolar disorder, but no one I know has ever come out of therapy. Like, you don't have to have a mental illness to go to therapy.
Oh,
no one I know has ever come out of therapy like, I feel worse.
I got two of them in my phone.
Right, you actually feel better. So right?
Got to have one.
And there's all kinds of other stories outside of sports that everybody else is talking about, and you know, some of them could have been helped had somebody said, you know, just go talk to somebody.
Yes.
Just go talk to somebody early on.
We got to remove the shame stigma. You're exactly right, Doug, because we're all better off for it. Coming up, why does every